All right, so we're back for another haircut, and it's time to get creative. So we've got our model today, Gretel, and she's got, as you can see, short hair already. So some of the things as I look at what we have to work with is I'm liking the length on top. I definitely want to take out the weight. Gretel has a ton of hair, so if you could only stick your hands through her hair, you would feel how much hair there is. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to eliminate, when somebody has a lot of hair, it kind of can become a little poofy just because there's so much hair. And so I want to sit the sides in. I'm not exactly sure how tight I'm going to sit the sides in. One of the things that I like to do is I sometimes like to let the hair tell me what I should do. So as I start to cut the sides down, cut them in tighter, cut them in shorter, I'll take a look and see how the hair is reacting. And at that point, I might like that length, or I might think that it'll look better to go tighter. So I'm not 100% sure how tight I'm going to take the sides in just yet, but I will as we start to go along. I'm going to kind of let the hair tell me how tight it wants to go. The next thing is I'm going to section off the top for later. We're going to save this for last. I want to work with this length that we have up here so that we can have some length up here to play around with. I'm definitely going to take the back in tight. I know that for sure. You know, I don't know if I'm going to leave it soft around here or take it tight and, you know, do a nice tight scissor-over-comb, or, you know, possibly leave some length there. But what I do know for sure is I'm going to remove this length here. I do want to sit the neck in nice and tight. We might do the front tight, we might not, but I already do know for sure that I want to take the back tight, kind of just removing this length, sitting it up, keeping this weight here, of course. And so probably what I'm going to do is start with the sides and back, section off the top, and then from there, as we start to take the sides and back down, I'll decide how tight I want to take it over here, and then once that's established, we'll then address the top at the end. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get Gretel's hair shampooed, get it nice and clean, and then we're going to get started. Alright guys, so we just got Gretel's hair shampooed. As you can see, what I've done is I've parted away the top. You know, I took a section here, basically just using her temples as a kind of guide on where I'm going to do that, taking a section back, combing it up to the top, and then clipping the top away so that I can address these sides first. So what I want to do is start going in here and taking it down little by little and kind of seeing what the hair does. We talked about earlier how sometimes it's nice to let the hair tell you what length you should cut it. You know, there are a lot of people's hair that as you start to cut it shorter, it kind of just sticks straight out. And it's deceiving because when it's longer, it lays down nice and flat and you think, oh, I'll just take this down a little bit shorter, but then all of a sudden it sticks straight out. And now you're either going, shoot, I need to take it down shorter, or I wish I wouldn't have cut it this short, right? You kind of get that in-between stage. So it's kind of a good idea to do it little by little in the beginning and kind of see how it's looking as you progress. I wouldn't recommend, if you aren't familiar with that particular client, you haven't done that particular client's hair before to know how their hair is going to react. It's usually better to play it safe than sorry and just take it down little by little. And you can always take off more if you're not liking the way it looks, but obviously if you go in there and take it all off, you can't put it back. So on that note, we're going to start here on the sides, and I'm going to take a section, and I'm going to take it as short as my fingers. Okay, so it's interesting because depending on if you've got big hands or small hands, or I should say big fingers, thick fingers, or skinny fingers, that's going to dictate how short this first section is. You know, my fingers, being a man, tend to be a little bit thicker than those of a woman. So if you're a woman, you might want to leave it a little bit longer. It just kind of depends. For me, I've got thicker fingers, so I'm kind of just going to take it down to finger distance. And what that means, finger distance, to kind of explain that in more detail, is I'm literally taking my fingers, putting it flush on her head so that it's as short as it's basically as short as I'm going to be able to cut the hair through my fingers. Where not finger distance is if I'm combing the hair and I'm pulling out here and then cutting over here. That's obviously a lot of space. But if I'm taking my fingers and putting them right on her head, I can't put my fingers any closer to her head, then that's finger distance. And so I'm going to start off by cutting finger distance through the sides and kind of see how the hair reacts, see how the hair lies. And from there, I'm going to decide if I want to go shorter on the sides, if I like the length. But again, if you've got really tiny fingers, you know, you may want to not do quite finger distance just because that might be too short. So just be conscientious of, I guess, your hand size. Okay, so as I'm coming here to the front, one of the things that I'm considering is leaving it a little longer around here possibly and kind of having something soft. But I'm also considering just taking it off and doing something really tight. So I've got to kind of see what I think first, obviously, doing it long, because I can't take, if I take it all off and change my mind, like I said before, you can't put the hair back. So to make sure that I don't cut this hair, that one section, yes, I'm doing finger distance up here, okay, but as I get down by this sideburn, I'm not doing finger distance anymore. I'm actually pulling away so that I can leave some length there. And I'm going to take this length down little by little. I want to make sure that I don't whack it off in one shot. And so I'm going to pull away from the head as I get down to the sideburn. So up here, though, I want to do finger distance. And then down here, I'm going to pull away. You can see there's space behind my finger, so it's not finger distance, and I'm just kind of dusting that off. And I can always take more, right? I can always go shorter. So we're just going to first address this top part of the sides and then go down to, again, this bottom part by leaving it a little bit longer. Take a look at how everything's laying, and I can decide if I want to go shorter and shorter. Okay, one more section up here. Okay, so I've already taken this side down to finger distance. I'm going to carry it on a little bit to the back and then come back to this section here at the sideburn, and then kind of decide once I have this whole right side done. That way I can kind of get an idea of how it looks from a frontal point of view, from a profile point of view. We don't want to take this hair too short, because if we take this hair too short, it's going to lay flat. And if we take this tight like I want to, then you're going to have a flat section here at the crown, and then you're going to have a shape similar to this, where it's short down here at the neck, and due to the occipital bone, it starts to protrude outwards, and then if this is flat, it'll start to protrude outward, and you'll have this triangular shape here in the back. Obviously, that's not flattering. We want more of a round shape. So we got to make sure we don't whack the hair off here in one shot. We got to do it slowly. So we're going to over direct this way, leaving this hair longer. That technique, like every technique, is only a technique to execute the haircut you want. You still have to be visual with it. So you can do a perfect technique, but it could turn out unflattering because you didn't pay attention to bone structure, the face, the jawline. I mean, there's a lot of things that play into factor when you're creating a shape that now become visual versus technique. And so it's very important that not only are you executing the technique appropriately, but you're watching how the shape is being created so that you're now visually cutting a flattering haircut. So right now I'm just addressing the section that's above the occipital bone, and then I'll go and finish off the section below the occipital bone. Okay, so you can see we left some good weight here. If I turn the head to a profile, you can see that the length still exists over here. Now what we need to do is address this section below the occipital bone so we have a round shape versus a flat shape here. We don't want to have basically this triangle shape back here with the occipital bone being more noticeable. We don't want to accentuate that. We want to basically diffuse that. So now I'm going to go ahead and keep doing diagonal sections to get this bottom section underneath this hip below, nice and short as my fingers can go. We're going to take it shorter than that anyway, so that's why I say no matter how small of hands you have, go ahead and just take it as tight as you can, because we're going to do some scissor over comb here shortly after anyway. And once we're done with this side, we'll go ahead and do the other side. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go in and scissor over comb. I'm going to put my comb as flat to her skin as possible, because again, I know I want to take this as short as I can, and we might even go to a smaller tooth comb, but being that I know I want to whack this bottom hairline off, I want it to be nice and tight, I'm just going to take the comb and put it right on her skin. I like to hold multiple combs at the same time. Originally when I was taught how to do scissor over comb, you put one comb down, you hold one comb at a time, but now what I do to save time is I'll hold one comb here and one comb there. And I can even hold, in many cases, if I want, you know, this is another comb that has different sized teeth. It's a little bit longer than this white one, and of course, this one is the biggest. So I could literally hold 3 combs if I want. Something that you might want to consider, because it is a time saver not to have to put down one comb and pick up another. You can just swap them really quickly in your hand. Okay, so now I'm going to switch back over to the wide tooth comb and kind of carry on to the other panel, just working our way around the head. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the smaller tooth comb and get this hair out of the way. Okay, and so with this hair right here on the neck, one thing you can do is tilt her head away so that it stretches the skin really tight. Then take your finger and pull the skin even tighter, and then you can put your blade flat on her skin. And as long as her skin doesn't wrinkle up, you can go ahead and start cutting this neck hair away. That's why you want to push the hair away, because if she was to bring her hair back this way, and the skin is loose, you could catch her skin and cut a chunk of her neck off. So we don't want to do that. We want to pull the head away and then even pull it tighter with our finger so that it's really tight. The skin is really tight. And then basically just go in there and use the scissor to clean up the neck. You can also use the clippers, of course, but for the sake of this video tutorial, I'm just going to show you how you can also use your scissors. Sometimes you don't have your clippers. Maybe you're doing someone's hair at their house and you forgot your clippers, or the battery dies and it's not charged or whatever. If that's the case, you can always just do this. And then you can see right here I'm doing what's called the apple peel technique, where imagine you're peeling an apple, but you use your thumb to hold the ear down, right? And if you hold the ear down with your thumb and use the comb to pull the hair down, you can cut the hair around the hairline. Really easy without actually having to ask your client to hold their ear. And not that it's a problem. If your client's asleep though, I know many times I'm cutting somebody's hair and they fall asleep in my chair. So rather than waking them up to ask them to hold their ear, I can just basically do that technique, peel the apple technique. Okay, so now we're going to go around to the other side and work from the middle over here. A good thing to do is go from here, just turn your hand backwards or upside down, and scissor over comb basically upside down. And now I don't have to worry about, getting this hair right here from this angle, because that makes it really hard to scissor over comb over on that side. Okay, so now go to the smaller tooth comb down here at the bottom. And again, same thing on this side. I'm going to have her tilt her head to get that skin nice and tight. And then I'm actually going to hold from over with my thumb. And then I'm going to come in with the blade flat on her skin on this angle. Okay, same thing, pull it nice and tight. All right, so then, keeping the head at that angle, I'm just going to keep taking this hairline a little bit shorter with the fine-tooth barbering comb. Just getting this as tight as the scissors will allow. All right, so what we are now going to do is basically we've got this weight here, we've created this round shape. One of the things that I like to do is I like to look in the mirror, so I'm going to turn Gretel profile to the mirror so I can look straight into the mirror and I can take a peek at the weight in this particular case to see if it's too long. You know, we cut that weight in by over-directing. I should say we left that weight by cutting using over-direction, and it's a little bit longer. So now that I'm looking at the hair from a profile, I can see that I do want to take it down a little bit shorter. So now turning the hair camera to a profile here, we left this length here to be precautious that we don't create a flat shape there. But I think we can definitely still take it down a little bit more. So that's what we're going to do here. And I'm going to basically use my fingers and take horizontal sections and address this weight, this heavy part, to make it a little flatter. We don't want it to be too flat because that would defeat the purpose of the over direction and saving the length, but we don't need to be this full either. Okay, and then I'm going to take a peek at it again from the profile, kind of see how that length looks. And I'm liking it more and more. Okay, so now that we've got the sides and back relatively done, it's time to make a decision on what I want to do with the sideburns. And more, I like the idea of taking it in a little bit tighter. I think it's going to be more of an edgier, fresher look. And so I think we're going to go in and little by little take those sideburns down. I'm thinking I'm going to probably eventually end up with them being pretty tight, but I don't want to just go in and whack it off in one shot. So like I mentioned before, we're going to do it in phases, just to play it safe and see if the hair changes my mind and I decide to leave it a little bit longer than I'm initially thinking. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to start taking this tighter and tighter as we go. One of the first things I'm going to do is actually kind of just see if I could pick the perfect length. We'll start with the length. What would that length be? So I'm going to comb the hair flat and then basically just kind of chip in little by little and taking the length up. So again, just not committing to it completely, taking it little by little. Okay, and then kind of just seeing where it goes. Now you don't want to go in there and just whack a straight line. You want to chip so it's softer, it stays softer. If you whack a straight line, it becomes very, kind of more like a masculine sideburn. And we want more of a soft, feathery sideburn if we're going to do a sideburn at all. Like I'm thinking, originally I'm probably just going to take the sideburn off, but just little by little kind of seeing what would happen, what it would look like, see if the hair changes my mind. This hair underneath, I'm going to kind of pull the hair off to the back, and I'm going to kind of cut the hair underneath a little bit shorter. And the reason I do that is that it just makes the sideburn have less hair, so that when the hair does come down, it's actually a little bit softer. Okay, so kind of just taking a peek at it from a profile point of view. You know, we could kind of leave some type of soft sideburn there. It's actually, now that I've taken it up a little bit more and pulling this hair back, kind of cutting this hair underneath, it's actually looking really good. Trying to make this sideburn softer, so in order to make it softer, I have to take out more hair, and one way to do that is to layer it, which we've been doing, and another is to cut the hair underneath it. And then there's just less hair there, so it becomes wispier. When you've eliminated a lot of the hair, that particular hair that's left looks a little bit more wispy. And then again, just kind of breaking into that sideburn, again eliminating more hair and having more of a wispy look. Okay, and I'm just kind of playing with it, like, you know, again, we don't want it to, I don't like the idea of having a sideburn kind of just bulk up really thick, kind of becomes more of a masculine sideburn, so I kind of like to separate the ends. I mean, we can comb it back, but then if we do that, we still want to make sure it's piecey, kind of wispy, soft, chunky look, which is a more feminine sideburn versus a masculine sideburn. Okay, so I think I'm going to still continue by taking it shorter like I originally thought, but this is definitely, if this is something that you wanted to do, you wanted to keep a softer sideburn, this is something that you definitely could stop right here and then finish up the top and you'd be done. But in this particular case, I'm going to take this in nice and tight. We're going to go a little bit tighter over here. Okay, and now I'm going to start to remove the sideburn a little bit more. Okay, and then I'm going to head and grab the other tooth, the other comb with the smaller teeth. The smaller tooth comb, sorry. Comb with the smaller teeth, the smaller tooth comb. Okay, so now just take a peek at it. I like how the hairline's tighter. To me, it's just a little bit more edgy. You're removing that soft kind of sideburn, which is cool. The soft sideburn is cool, don't get me wrong, but kind of feeling like I want to do something a little bit more edgy. So that was kind of why I decided to take that sideburn much tighter. Okay, so then we want to do the same thing for the other side. Okay, just taking this sideburn nice and tight, matching the other side. Now, I'm debating right now what I'm going to do at the top. I know I want to keep length, and what I'm debating about is doing either more of a round shape, asymmetric shape, or maybe even kind of a faux hawkish shape, leaving a little bit more length in the middle, just for something, again, to keep that edgier look. And if I'm going to disconnect, keep the sides from the top being disconnected. I might blend the top into the sides, I might not. I might just blend from the ear back and then leave from the ear forward disconnected just to keep more length here. The more length you have, obviously, the more hair you have to play with when you style it. So those are the dilemmas that I'm going through right now, which I'm going to have to obviously make up my mind, but once I take these clips out, that will help me make up my mind. So at this particular point, I'm going to remove these clips from the top of the hair, and if I was to blend in the sides from the top, you would see that I would have to cut this much off to blend in the top and to the sides. I don't know if I want to do that just yet because I like this length, because it is something to play with. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to re-wet the hair. I'm going to blow dry with my hand the hair to kind of get an idea of how the hair reacts again from wet to dry. It's obviously dried in this position since we shampooed it, but I'm going to re-wet it, re-dry it, and then from there kind of decide how I'm going to finish the top off. So on that note, let's get the hair wet and blow dry it. The one thing that I forgot that I'm going to do before I actually blow dry it is I'm going to cut the fringe in an asymmetric shape, meaning it's going to be shorter here, longer here. The reason for that is I think if Gretel ever wears her hair forward for any reason, she styles it forward, it's just flattering to have hair moving to the side versus straight down. So in this particular case, with her hair already being shorter, I don't want to lose any of this length. So that's actually going to be the guide of how long it's going to be. But this side here, I'm going to take a little bit shorter. And you can kind of see it's kind of cut in that shape already, a little bit. If you comb it all down, it's barely in that. I'm just going to do it a little bit more noticeable. So dusting off the very tips on the ends over here, because again, I don't want to cut that length. And then starting to angle the hair over here. And I'm just chipping through to kind of keep the line a little bit softer. Okay, and that way it's just shorter over here, longer over here. Now that I've created that line, I'm actually gonna cut it a little cleaner by doing it flat on the skin of the forehead versus through my fingers. Okay, so that's actually the first batch of hair, or the first snippets of hair that we cut from the top. So now I'm going to go ahead and blow dry this and play with it, kind of see how the hair reacts while I blow dry it. All right, so now that I've blow dried the hair, what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut the temple area a little bit shorter, and then I over direct each section as I work my way higher up the hair towards the middle. I'm going to over direct this way so that it keeps the middle longer. I'm also going to cut at an angle from short to long here in the back. So shorter, long. I want to keep all this length here in the front, but I also want to keep all the length here at the top so that she can wear it kind of faux hawkish for an edgier look. She doesn't have to. She can kind of push it around, but it'll be cut in that shape to make it nice and easy for her. So we have to make sure that we do some over direction in two locations. One over directing to the back so that this hair stays long, and one over directing hair to the side so that the middle stays long. So we're going to go ahead and take the first section, and as of right now, I'm pretty much probably going to leave it disconnected. I'm not going to blend the sides to the top. I think I'm going to leave it disconnected. It's going to be a very slight disconnection, so it's not going to matter too much as far as like being able to see this disconnected step. I just think the extra length by not blending it is going to be nice when it comes to styling it. The more hair you have, obviously the more options you have when styling. If your hair is really short, there's not a lot you can do. If your hair is a little bit longer, you can do a little bit more. And of course, if your hair is much longer, you can do, lots of things. So in this particular case, we're going to work with leaving it a little bit longer. And again, we can always change our mind, right? As long as we leave hair longer, we can always take it shorter later. So there's the first section. I'm going to over direct that second section over to the previous so it keeps it long in the middle. Okay. And now working my way up higher towards the head, to the top of the head. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll cross-check it by actually going this way to kind of make sure that shape is still there. But before I do that, I'm actually going to do the other side now. Okay, so now I'm going to cross-check it. by basically combing from the front to back. And it should be in an angle kind of like this, a shape like this. So if you can, kind of like that. So as I cross-check it, I'm going to be holding my fingers this way and then holding them this way. I'm going to take a section a little lower and do the same thing. You can see right here is where it's disconnected from the side, which is totally fine. It's a very small disconnection, so I'm not worried about this visible step. Okay, now one other thing that I'm going to do is, we cut the bangs, the fringe area, at asymmetric, shorter there, longer here, wet. But I'm going to do that as well now that it's dry. So I'm going to take the hair, I'm going to comb it down. And I'm actually going to comb it and hold it with my hand in place. And I'm going to just cut right there onto the skin of the forehead. So I have a nice flat surface to cut on rather than cutting through my fingers, because if I cut through my fingers, this finger doesn't, underneath doesn't create a flat surface. It creates a bump, a little, my finger's a bump basically, and I want to create a nice clean line flat on the forehead. And right now the fringe, the way it was cut before, was kind of like this a little bit. So yeah, from this point on, it is shorter and gets longer, but it also does it here. So I'm actually going to open this up right here. So I'm going to comb this down, and I'm just going to break into the hair with the tips of my scissors. And same thing, I'm just going to comb the hair forward and kind of break into that so that it's definitely shorter here, working its way that way. Okay, so you can see I've just kind of opened it up more right here, so it's not shaped like this. Actually, it was more shaped like that, not totally round, but kind of asymmetrically round. Now it's more asymmetric, not round right here anymore, which I think just gives it a more edgier, cleaner look. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, since I just cut that fringe right there, the bangs right there, blunt, flush against the skin, I'm going to go through and layer it, just so there's a little bit less hair. And that way she can, if she wants to, we talked about it, dress it over to the side. She can, it'll lay nice and flat. We've cut it in an asymmetric shape, but then we're going to also layer it a little bit more so it's not so puffy right there. But then she's got this length as well that she can play with, but we're going to go in there and texturize that length as well. So let's though first go in here, and there's the corner that we created when we cut this fringe. So I'm going to go in and just dust off that corner. It's not a big corner, the hair was short to begin with, so it's just going to obviously be a small corner. But that corner makes a difference between the hair being puffy or flat when she wants to dress it flat against her forehead and wear the bangs, her fringe, to the side. So it's important, as little as that corner is, that we get rid of it. You can see it already starts to lay flatter right here through the bang area, through the fringe area, just by taking off that corner. So now it's time to go in and kind of texturize the top, get it so that it's not as, she's got a ton of hair, and we want to remove a lot of that weight, basically. We want to get rid of some of this weight so the hair has a more chunky feel to it. Kind of imagine a ball of cotton, and if you've got a ball of cotton, it's just pretty much going to be round. But if you start pulling pieces out of that cotton and kind of threading it out, that cotton becomes less bulky and more airy. And then it becomes more of a chunky, kind of wispy cotton ball. Well, curly hair in general is very similar to a ball of cotton. And so if we can go in and start pulling pieces out of the ball of cotton, in this case the hair, which really is going to just be texturizing it, then it's going to give it a more chunky look. I'm going to slice from the scalp to the top, and I'm going to do it in pieces. I'm going to do it one right here by the temple, a little bit higher, and then at the top, and then here, here, here. And I'm going to work my way forward as I do that. So the first section here in the back is combing the front away, right here at the base. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm just doing this to the scissor. I'm not closing it all the way because that's going to cut the hair, the whole chunk off. I'm just barely closing it, so I'm cutting pieces off. And I don't know if you can see my hand, but coming back here, I start at the bottom and I work my way up to the top. And then I'm working my way, as I work my way up to the top, I'm also working my way to this longer section back here. Okay, and then you take, basically I'm just going to comb that hair out, take a peek, kind of see if it's becoming more airy, kind of like that theory of a cotton ball where if you just start pulling pieces out, it becomes more airy. If it's not airy enough, not thin or wispy or chunky enough, then you can just keep going and doing more off that section. But I like the way it's coming, so I'm going to go to the next section forward, combing this hair forward out of the way, coming this section back, and starting here, I'm going to take a section here, here, and here. 3 sections where I'm going to close the blade partially closed, and you can see it just kind of takes some hair off, but not all of it. I don't know if you can see that on the blade, but it takes a nice big chunk out of it, but not all. You're not creating a hole, basically. Okay, and then just kind of that theory of the cotton ball, just pulling pieces out so that it becomes a little bit more wispy, chunky, and not so much of a full ball of cotton, basically. We want a more airy look. Okay, and now I'm working my way forward, pushing this up, and same thing. Okay, not closing it all the way. All right, and now, I usually don't like to do that with the very front section. I like the front section to be as whole as possible. That's just a personal preference. So in this case, I'm going to section off this very front section just to make sure I don't break into it at all. I've already layered it, so I don't really want to make it any more wispy. So I'm just going to comb that front part down and then do the rest behind it, comb the hair out. Okay, and you can see it's becoming more airy. You can start to see through the hair. It's not like this ball of cotton where you can't see through it anymore. So now I'm going to do the other side, and then I'm going to take a peek, and we may do some more, right? So if you don't like how airy it is, you can still keep taking more hair out. So let's go ahead and do this side. Okay, so now what I want to do is I just want to play with it with my fingers. And what I like to do is I like to just take my hands and start twisting different places on the hair. Basically, this will allow you to see how chunky, how airy you've now made the haircut. And if it still looks heavy, just grab those heavy pieces. Like there's a heavy piece right here. I'm just literally grabbing it and doing that, barely closing the blade, and just pulling out these heavy chunks of hair still that didn't come out the first go around. And then again, just playing with it, kind of pulling the hair apart. I'm just kind of, as we've gone through and cut all this hair out, kind of like the ball of cotton where you start pulling pieces, then I'm now just pulling the ball of cotton apart to kind of see how airy and how chunky and how texturized I've been able to make this texture, which is curly hair, how I'm able to break into it and see if it's a decent amount of texture or if I need to keep going. Okay, one more thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to comb all the hair into the middle. Where it's the heaviest is right here in the center, because if you remember, we left it the longest there too. So I'm going to take this hair. You can actually kind of see already it's chunky because we've already gone through and texturized, but I'm going to break into it a little more. And I'm just taking the hair and pulling it all apart. So where it's already kind of chunky, I'm just going to go with that and make it a little bit more chunky. Okay, and then just pull that hair out that I just cut. Okay, again, just kind of playing with the hair, kind of just seeing how heavy and chunky it's still, or how heavy it is still on top, if I still need to break into it some more and texturize it some more, or if we're going to be okay. So you can see the shape is longer here, definitely kind of goes shorter here, shorter here. Asymmetric things going this way as far as the fringe. And now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to dress it with the pomade, and if we need to put more product, we definitely can. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put some craft clay into the hair. I like this because it's a dry type pomade. I prefer dry personally, it's just my personal taste, versus pomades that leave the hair looking wet. So in that yeah, I mean, that's just personal preference, I guess. If you like a wetter look, a more wet look, then that's great. But I personally like a dry look. Okay, so now basically what I'm doing is I'm just taking the pomade, working it through, kind of twisting in different places. The twisting is what creates that chunkiness. You know, like if I wanted to make it stick up right there, I'm just going to grab it and twist, kind of like the bangs, the fringe kind of coming over, twisting around in different places, and it also just kind of works the pomade in. But what I like about it is it just breaks the texture of the hair. You know, with having so much hair and it being really curly, it kind of breaks into, again, using that ball of cotton as an example, it breaks into it so it doesn't just look like one poof. It, you know, gives it style, it makes it look edgy. Basically just kind of playing right now, looking for places that it does look heavy, that I might be able to break into some more, texturize some more with the scissors. But I think I'm pretty satisfied with the amount of hair that we've been able to get out of it. Okay, so we're done. So as a quick recap, basically what we did is we played around with the sides first. I wasn't exactly sure how tight I wanted to take the sideburns. I kind of liked them a little bit longer and soft, but I also kind of wanted to go a little bit shorter and edgy, and I wasn't sure which way I would go, so I saved that for last in regards to the sides and back. I wanted to kind of create more of a faux hawk shape on the top. It's not, you know, super faux hawky, but it gives it a little bit more of an edgy, kind of cool, unique look, kind of it's a look all its own, versus a rounder or a square shape. So kind of more of a faux hawk shape, kind of fun to play with. She can always dress it differently. She doesn't have to wear it like this, but it's there. It's cut in that shape in case she wants to be, in case she wants to wear her hair a little unique and be a little bit more on the edgy side. So, basically cut the bangs, cut the fringe down. We took very little off the fringe because, again, it was already short, but then layered it so that it can lay a little bit more flat here on the front. She can push it up. She can definitely push it up. If she wants to, she can wear her bangs up. She can definitely wear them down. Right now, I've just got them dressed down. Just kind of what I'm feeling right now. And basically, that's it. So, if you have any questions in regards to this haircut at all, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and I will get to your questions as soon as possible. Thank you again so much for watching.